Welcome to Script the Flip. I'm Taylor here with my sharpest tool in the shed, co-host Jared.
Thanks.
On today's episode, we'll be reviewing the highly anticipated film, Tom and Jerry. Jared,
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but every time I go down to the river, off in the distance, I see a glimmer on the shore of the bank. What is that? Another advanced screener. This time for T&J. Now, without any further ado, let's get right into it. Jared, what were your first thoughts of Tom and Jerry 2021?
It was kind of weird. So this movie follows Tom and Jerry in our world having a wacky adventure, but nobody knows who they are.
Remember that movie that came out in 2019 about the guy who was the only one who remembered the Beatles? There is one guy in the film who has that thing where he's like, guys from the show.
No, those animals have names.
His name is Jerry. His name is Tom.
They're animals that can stand up like people.
That cat smokes.
Speaking of smoking, even though it's a kids movie, they're going back to the roots with smoking and drinking. They want the characters to be doing what they did back in the day.
To update it for 2020 though, Tom takes a huge rip off of a fat spliff.
It's kind of cool this cat's able to do that, but should he be doing that?
At the opening of the trailer, they're getting ready to board the bus at the bus stop. Jerry tricks Tom into walking out into the street and is hit by a bus. The bus does not stop at the bus stop.
That bus keeps going and you see on the grill, it's Tom and like several other people also on the grill.
And the bus driver's like, we're 3 stops behind. When Tom and Jerry arrive in New York City, since the film was in production during 2019, of course they're guided through New York City by who else except Lizzo the Pigeon, who is now a canon member of the Tom and Jerry cinematic universe along with Butch, Toodles, Toppy, and the sad orphan duck. So in the film, Chloe Grace Moretz is a new employee of the hotel. She really wants to make a good impression. And her first task is to get rid of a mouse problem. And you're not going to believe this. It's Jerry. Instead of hiring an exterminator,
They tried different cats. They tried Josie of the Pussycats.
Rum Tum Tugger.
They tried Mike Myers' Cat in the Hat. And she's like, hey, you gotta stop Jerry. Oh yeah! Chloe Grace Moretz should have had an exterminator because Jerry the Mouse can read and write, which is very alarming.
She goes and knocks on his door and he like set up a TV with HDMI cables. He's not going to fall for a trap.
Trying to watch a Skinamax and you're just bothering Jerry.
Here's a little behind the scenes trivia for you. A large amount of the budget actually went to editing out the constantly visible genitalia of the 2 main characters.
You'd be surprised how many scenes have Jerry's butthole.
Like you go in thinking like there'll probably be 6 or 7.
It's at least 100. Chloe Grace Moretz is talking to Jerry, and it's just from behind Jerry, and you see his butthole, and you see Chloe Grace Moretz looking down on him. So Michael Pena is in this role, as you know him from Ant-Man, Ant-Man 2, and Fantasy Island. He plays Chloe Grace Moretz's colleague / a Mexican stereotype who doesn't understand how Instabook face works. So at this hotel, the big event of the hotel is Colin Jost getting married. Something that kids love so much is Colin Jost.
Unfortunately for the film to make the PG rating, the editor made the difficult choice of cutting the B plot of Jerry's side hustle on OnlyFans. And don't worry, it was nothing weird, just feet stuff.
The one who's the top only fan is Tom.
There's a scene in the film where Jerry photocopies himself, and that's fine, but there's one photocopy where he pushes his butt up against the photocopy in a very seductive pose. There's a little too much detail in the butt. Once I noticed this, I noticed that somebody on the animation staff seems extra horny for Jerry. There's a lot of scenes where you really get close-ups of his tail, slowly glides up his legs while he's in the bathtub watching Sex and the City.
And you feel like the head animator was like going through the rounds, seeing where everyone was at creative wise, and they asked the animator to work on Jerry's butt and like, hey man, how's it going? Nothing, don't look over here.
I thought it was interesting how they set up a sequel to a second Tom and Jerry film where at the very end, the manager of the hotel gets fired and who walks in? It's Spike, baby. He's back on top. All right, Jared, well, with all of that, what did you think of the film overall?
I just felt like it could have been done better. Overall, I'd give the movie 4 out of 10. I wanted Tom and Jerry to face Michael Jordan in basketball. How about you, Taylor?
Personally, I hated the film. I give this film a 1 out of 10 because I caught COVID at the theater. That's gonna do it for us here at The Script. Tell us down in the comments, if Jerry could talk, which swear words do you think he would say? Don't forget to subscribe to Warner Brothers YouTube channel for more upcoming films from Warner Brothers, and we'll see you next time.
I think he would say dumb fuck.
I think he'd say cunt.